Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Got a classic for you today. We're going to learn how to play Limelight in full. A couple years ago, I just did the first riff, like one of the famous riff series, which I don't do anymore. So I'm going to pull that video and just teach the entire song in this one. All right, so we're going to start. So I'm going to do that riff that I'd already taught you guys, but that video is going to no longer exist. So we are in standard tuning here. And this intro sounds like this. So it's going to be a variation of that riff done a few times. So it's going to start with the open low E string, 0, then 4, then 0, 4 on the A string to the 2nd fret on the D. All right, then we're going to get to a power chord here. There's just a B power chord, 2nd fret there on the A, 4th fret on the D and the G. Hit that a couple times, then grab the 4th fret on the low E into an A power chord. So it's just the open A string, 2nd fret on the D and the G. So we have this real slow through the riff. All right, so now the first time you play that riff, when you take it to that first hit on the power chord, it's really short and then you mute it. Then you hit it again and do that. So it sounds like this. Now the second time, you let it ring. So it's the same riff besides that. And then the third time, you kind of do it half the time. You hold it and then you mute it. So we have this. So it's not as short as the first one, but it's kind of like in the mid-range there. So all three together. All right, and then we do that little single note riff one more time. And as soon as we get there, we basically go into what is really, I call it a kind of a transition riff. It sounds like this. So that is going to be that B power chord again. And you can have the open B string with it too. Then you're going to go from there to this. You're basically going to pick up your ring finger and move the index finger over to the 2nd fret of the D string. Have the open A, 2nd fret on the D, 4th fret on the G, and still that open B. Give it a nice ringy sound. So we have this. Now the rhythm, the way he plays this rhythm, sometimes it'll be like, just like 1, 1, 2, 1, and other times you'll go. So he'll mix it up, so just kind of listen for that. But it's really catching the feel of it is the most important part. So we have this, that 2nd chord, and then we're gonna move over and we're gonna bar the 2nd fret across the D and the A string. And you still have the 4th fret there on the G string, but you have the low E. So this chord can be all 6 strings. So then we have the little riff, which is 2, 4 on the low E, and then 0, 4, 0 on the A. So we have this. All right, then we make it to the verse, which starts at the 25-second mark. It sounds like this. Then we go back to a kind of a different version of that transition riff. All right, so the verse, we're gonna move up here kind of pick across the it's a B power chord, but instead of here, it's going to be up here on the low E. So the 7th fret on the low E, 9 on the A and the D. Pick across those. Now, he does little slight variations. He's always going to go from there to the open high E and the B string. But sometimes he'll hit the B first, and sometimes he'll hit the high E first. So he's just kind of picking across those two strings. Like. Then you're going to come down here, which is actually, let's call it a G sus4 chord, G sharp sus4. So we're just basically 4th fret there on the low E, and you're going to bar the 6th fret across the A, D, and the G. And that note comes in kind of towards the end, so it's like. And then there's a pause, and then you hit the F sharp power chord at the 2nd fret off the low E string. Let's go this. Then you're gonna open E. It's open E power chord, and then back to that F sharp. So. Okay, it's kind of a quick. And then he goes back to that chord that we did earlier, which is kind of just a big E power chord. And that's that open E, 2nd fret bar on the A and the D, 4th fret on the G, and then open B and high E string. So it's a voicing that he likes to use a lot. So it is. Back to the F sharp. So it's kind of the same thing repeated here. So I'll play the whole thing. Back up top. The F sharp a couple times, and then we're to that transition riff. So it's just about the timing of those F sharp power chords, probably the trickiest part of it. So, because the first time you play it, they're paused, and then other times you actually do the hits. So you just got to really kind of listen close for it. All right, now the transition riff coming out of that is just like the previous one, except you're going to arpeggiate them instead. So that's just the same chords. You just pick the A string, then the D, and then the B and the G string together. And then the same thing here. And then when you get to here, you just hit that big E power chord. So we have this. And so you hit that power chord, you do that same little riff. And repeat. Just. All right, then it goes back to the verse section. By the way, that little arpeggiation part, that little arpeggiated riff, that's at the 37-second mark if you needed to know that. All right, then it goes back through the verse and that little arpeggiated lick again, and then until we get to our chorus. Now the chorus uses a clean tone with chorus on it, and it sounds like this. All right, so it kind of, the chorus will end kind of slightly differently each time, like that ends like that when it goes into the solo. So, but it'll be pretty obvious which version to do. So I'm gonna start with a clean tone, and it switched to that distortion in the middle of it. So this chord right here, a little tricky to make sure you get the, you don't mute out the open B string. You're gonna bar just from the 6th string down to the 4th string. So you wanna make sure your index finger kind of comes up so it doesn't affect the B string there. And then you're gonna add the 6th fret there on the A and the 6th fret on the G. So you're gonna pick, I went from the G string, A string, I'm sorry, E string, A string, D string, open B, then the G. A little, kind of hold that note. So let them all ring together. Then you basically can hold an E minor chord, but with just your first finger on the second fret of the A and here at the second fret of the D with your middle finger. So we have this. You pick across from the low E to the A to the D, then the open B again, and then when you come back down to the G, you're holding the third fret there, which is kind of easy with your pinky. So we have this. Then you're gonna go to that F sharp power chord that we did earlier, but you're gonna pick across it. You're just gonna pick from the low E to the A to the D, and then the open B. So we have that, that's all together. So it looks like you're starting over here the third time through, but that's when it goes to the distortion, which is a lot easier here. So kick in the gain again, and it's just a low E power chord, kind of constant downstrokes, eighth note feel on it. Then the F sharp, then up to the G sharp. And then we go back to that open beat, that big open power chord. Starts opening it up. So you hear those top two open strings. And now what he's doing is playing an F sharp major chord there, and then letting the B and the high E ring with it. So that comes out of... And then we go back up here, and we're playing the chord that we did in the chorus, but you're gonna do a full bar now. All right. So all together there, coming from when we kick in the distortion. All right, so what I did there is I did those three chords. And then the second time around, I changed the middle chord to a regular F sharp major chord without the open high E. He does that once or twice in the song only though. And then to the... All right, so coming out of that, when you get up there to that kind of final chord, where we're at, we're gonna get to another verse section. You know, after you do the transition riff, of course. And then we go through the same sections that we did before. The only new part that you will see is at the solo at the 2-minute and 35-second mark. So let's jump to that part. Let me play the solo for you again, or for the first time. And then we'll break it down note for note. Here we go. All right, and then from there it goes into that chorus riff again. So let's take a look at this. You need a lot of reverb. There's a lot of reverb on this. So you're gonna basically start with just the 4th fret here on the G string and use your vibrato bar. And then you tap or touch harmonic that just 12 frets up, just right over the 16th fret. and then let the bar go down and do a bar dive, and then as it comes back up, you play the 4th fret. Now I just kind of hammer them on down here since I'm kind of working the bar. I can't really pick it. Slide up to 6 on the D string, and then you're gonna do another little bar dive. You're gonna kind of scoop into the note. So as you slide into the 4th fret there. Slide down to 2, and then do another scoop into the 4th fret there on the low E string. That's enough for now of getting my guitar out of tune. And then we're going to start with the melodies, which we come up here. So that's the next phrase. So he basically goes up to the 11th fret on the G string and hits it a few times. And still have some vibrato bar on it. And then go 12 on the B and 14 on the high E string. Then flick across those notes again. Then 11th fret on the B, 14 to 13 on the G. All right, now we have this little fast lick. All right, so we're gonna start here. Now the easy way to understand this lick is to ignore the first note. Just play it and don't worry about it, because it's not really part of the pattern. So the 11th fret on the high E string, you're gonna play it, but it's really kind of an outlier here. And then the rest is just a series of 2 licks played back to back twice. All right, so once again, play the 11 on the high E first. Now you think about the patterns. 12, 11 on the B, just straight alternate picking, over to 14 on the high E. So that's the first lick. And the second lick is 11, 12 on the B to 11 on the high E. So first lick, second lick. Then you play the first lick again, and then the second lick. So you can start with that 11. Then you're gonna come over to the 14th fret there on the B string. And you're gonna end it with this little melody. All right, so it's just 13 on the G, 11 on the B, 11 on the G, and a little quick little trill. Then you can pick 13 and do a bar dive on that 13, but then pull off to the open G. So it is. So as you kind of were going down the bar, then you just flick it and pull off. Now, as your strings are still slack, hammer on the 19th fret there on the high E. Now you're gonna have to really do some muting here. So you'll notice that I'm laying my index finger across the strings because I need, as the strings come back up from the bar dive, I need to keep them quiet. So the bar was, I was doing a bar dive, hammered on, and then released. And I was muting it with these fingers. Then we go hammer 14 to 16. And some vibrato on that as well. Then we start a quick little lick. So that is just 14, 16, 18 twice. Then 16, 18, 19 twice. So it is. And then 18, 19, 21 once, and then you start kind of doing some crazy sounding bending on it with some vibrato bars and everything. And that's kind of the best way to get, kind of get it out and just kind of repeatedly do those bends. My guitar is kind of, muting out those bends there, so I need to get it worked on. So don't make it sound like that. Anyway, if I can go fret back, and it's even worse. So yeah, just slide into it if you have a sick guitar. Anyway, so all right, so that's it for the solo. It's kind of tricky to get exactly like it's on the album because of those little bar dives and all that stuff. And then, of course, you got to keep your guitar in tune and all that fun stuff. All right, now we get to coming out of the solo is the chorus. So we have that chorus, kind of the arpeggiated part at the beginning of the chorus. He does twice, and then the actual chorus begins. So he starts, basically, he's going to do that arpeggiation part 4 times. And then we get to the aggressive part where he's kicking into the rhythms off the power chords. And that's where the extended ending starts. And I'll play through it real quick. Big rock ending. All right, so that's always fun. So now, we're starting with those power chords. The way you want to think about this so you can memorize which chord voicings to use where is when we start doing those open chords then, you basically do the version down here 3 times. Repeat. One more time. And this 3rd time, he's going to use that full F sharp major voicing that we did a little bit earlier in the chorus. Told you it happened a couple times. And then from there, after you've done that 3 times, now you're going to do the version of the riff where you're coming up here to this E major chord with the 5th in the bass. So that's you're going to bar across the 7th fret of the A and the low E. And you're going to bar 9th fret across the D, G, and the B. Take that and just move it up 2 frets to the F sharp. And then back to the same chord that ends at the 3rd chord of the riff. Do those again. So you basically do these chords now 3 times, but the 3rd time when you get there, you change the riff. You go. All right, so that 3rd time, so that's 1, 2, now the 3rd time. Hit it twice, let it ring. Twice, let it ring, and then you're going to come back to this final chord and hit it 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you start the tremolo picking, let it ring, and 1 big hit to end it. All right, so it's a great track. It's fun to play, and it's got some challenging stuff in it, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this lesson, and we'll get a lot out of it. I'll see you again soon for guitarlessons365.com.